Hello and hello everybody, my name is Lucy and welcome to Books and Brushes. So today I'm doing a tag. I haven't done a tag in actual months. When was my last tag? A while ago. And recently I got tagged in the Can't Say I Didn't Try book tag by Jayla over at LalaLovesLit. By the way, if you're not watching LalaLovesLit, you should be. She's great, go watch her. So thank you Jayla for this tag. I'm excited to do these questions and it came at such an opportune time for March, so I'm excited to get into these questions. As always, the original by the Bumbling Blogger will be in the description down below, and so will Jayla's from LalaLovesLit. That one will also be in the description, so you can go watch those if you want to. Let's dive straight on into the questions. Question 1. A book you should have DNF'd. So I'm not a big DNF'er. I firmly believe that I can't really give my full opinion on a book if I didn't get to the end, so I'm a stubborn bitch like that. But there's a few books that I'm like, yeah, it wouldn't have made a difference. I knew it wouldn't have made a difference, but I got to the end anyway. Most recently speaking, A Very, Very Bad Thing by Jeffrey Self comes to mind because I hated that book. If you want to watch that rant and haven't seen it, that's in my January wrap-up part 1. A lot of you thoroughly enjoyed that rant. Not a great book, and I knew it wasn't a great book from the first few sentences. Well, I listened to it, so an audiobook. Minutes in, I knew this book was bad. I knew it wasn't going to get better, but it was only a few hour long audiobook. I thought, I'm listening to it, I don't have to like actually read it. It's really short. I'll just get to the end. If that had been really long, and if I'd been reading it physically, there's a good chance I may have DNF'd it. I got to the end, it wasn't worth it, and I knew it wasn't worth it, so that probably should have been a DNF, or at least it could have been. Another one that comes to my mind is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I'm sorry, classic purist, it ain't me. I think Mary Shelley was an incredible lady, and publishing that book at her age in her time, like her brain. However, that book is boring as fuck. I love the concept of Frankenstein, I love the story of Frankenstein, but the actual writing is a brick, and I hate it. I hated every second of it. I took months to read that book, it was awful. The fact I forced myself to keep reading it put me in a huge slump, so it wasn't worth it. It would have been better off if I DNF'd it and just not been a stubborn ass bitch and just let it go. It was just filled with too much filler. I can't be dealing with 4 chapters of describing the breeze through the grass. There's only so much filler a girl can take. Looking back at it, I wish I DNF'd it because it would have killed that slump, and why put myself through that torture? I knew it wasn't going to change. That was the style and age of the book, so probably should have DNF'd that one. Question 2. The most books you've read in a series without finishing the series. There's one other series that I could think of, but we'll save that for a later question. So for this one, I'm picking the Shatter Me series by Tahara Murphy. It ain't it. It just ain't it. So I don't really like the Shatter Me series. It started off okay. I thought the beginning, when I read the first book, it had a very unique vibe and writing style. I thought it had a kind of cool, dark concept. I was vibing with the weirdness. But then it went into this total generic, boring ass direction that I just wasn't on board with. I think the whole series went very, very downhill. I could not be doing with the love triangle, the romances. Characters were as dull as dead fish. No. A lot of people say Kenji saves it, but I'm sorry, that's too much weight on that character's shoulders. Kenji could only do so much. Not a fan of that series, and I read the first, second, third, and fourth book in the series, so arguably too far. I'd bought the box set and the fourth book, so I just thought I might as well read them all. The reason that I bought all those and I had this weird obligation to read them all is because I went to LA a few years ago and Tahara Murphy was at the Grove signing for Restore Me, the fourth book in the series, and I've never been to an author event in my life. That shit happens every day in America. The UK is a lot rarer, and I was just so flabbergasted and starstruck to go to an author signing. And even though I didn't enjoy the Shatter Me series, it was still an incredible experience for me to be at that signing. Obviously, I was at the signing before I'd read the books and realised I didn't like them. All the excitement at the book signing to meet Tahara Murphy, and Nicola Yoon was there, so I got her signature too. It was just so incredible. As a book nerd, like, that experience will forever be compounded in my heart to have this whole room of book lovers and talking about writing. I absolutely loved that experience, and I always will. That kind of won't be ruined, even though I didn't like the series. This was the book I picked up. Let me show you the signature. This is one of my few signed books, and the only book that I had signed in person personally. It is a specialty for me for that reason. So you got Tahara Murphy's signature here, and obviously her writing up here, and then this one in purple is Nicola Yoon, because she was like moderating the event. I didn't have everything with me. Obviously that book was at home. I didn't know these authors were were going to be at the Grove when I went. I will forever treasure this book, even though the actual series I didn't like. That's probably weird, but it is what it is. So reading 4 books in that series, and I won't plan on reading any of the others. I'm just not interested. I'm happy to leave it there, have that brilliant experience that I love, and I don't need to or want to read any of the rest of the books in that series. I'm done with it. Question number 3. A hyped author you just can't get along with. Now trust me, this one hurts me more than it hurts you. And that author is Adam Silvera. The disappointment I have in myself. So Adam Silvera is an extremely hyped author. So many people love him, including some of my best book friends. Absolutely love Adam Silvera. He is a complete YA sensation, and I've read 2 Adam Silvera books. I've read Infinity Sun and I've read More Happy Than Not, and I didn't like either of them, and it hurts. I read Infinity Sun first and I just did not get along with the book. I thought it was very rushed and there was so much going on. There were so many characters I couldn't distinguish. I liked aspects of the book, but I didn't quite get along with it. So then I tried one of his more classic, more contemporary style of books. One of the most hyped, More Happy Than Not. I love the concept for that book. I love the idea. I love the themes, but I just can't do Adam Silvera's writing style. I don't know what it is about it. It just doesn't gel with my brain. It's such a shame because I love the theme of Adam Silvera and it makes so many people emotional, and it just does not do that to me. I find his writing very confusing. I find myself quite lost. I don't get that emotional pull. I didn't understand what was going on half the time. I just thought the writing and the pacing was weird. I loved the twist. I thought the idea was great, but the actual writing of it just did not do it, and I didn't like it. It's a real shame because, like I said, a lot of my best friends really love his books, which makes me really sad because I want to love them too. And I know it's probably a problem with me and not a problem with him or with anyone else. This is my burden to bear. Everyone loves Adam Silvera and my brain don't do. It don't do. It makes me sad. That's the way it will go sometimes. It just doesn't gel for me, and that's okay. You know, there are plenty of other authors to drool over and to buy books from. I'm sorry if you're an Adam Silvera stan, please don't come at me with the pitchforks. There are a million Adam Silvera stans that you can gel with. Unfortunately, it doesn't do it for me, and I'm sad. Let's move on. Question 4. A genre you rarely read from. Now, I'm open to pretty much all and any genre. I'm not very exclusive when it comes to genre, but there's a few that come to mind of ones that I don't reach for often. Non-fiction, sci-fi, romance, and horror are the ones that are immediately coming to my brain. I'd like to read more sci-fi. I really want to up the sci-fi in my life because I love fantasy and it's a similar transition. I just don't see as many hyped up sci-fis. I need to get in that world. I also want to read more non-fiction. I do love like autobiographies and non-fictions. I just think they're so interesting and I don't read them as much as I'd like to. I'll always be a fiction girl. That's never going to change, but I do like reading non-fiction. Romance, not really my vibe. It's cool if that's your vibe, but it's not mine. I like a romance subplot sometimes, but I don't read for romance. It's not the peak for me. Same with horror. I like dystopian, I like dark themes, and I like creepiness, and I like ominous vibes. But I don't know, there's something about horror that's, you know, I could take it or leave it. The gore, the mystery. I'd like to try and read more horrors because I like the tone and I like the concepts, but I need it just to be more than gore and creep. I need some substance in there and then I'll be on board with horror. So I need to delve more into the horror genre because it is like a cousin of dystopian at the end of the day. I don't dislike any of those genres. In fact, I like them all. I just don't reach for them as often as I would my fantasies and my dystopians and some contemporaries. Question 5. The most elusive book or edition that you can't get your hands on. So this one was a tricky one for me. There's not really any special editions that I can think of that I want to get my hands on and can't. There's been a couple in the past that I wanted and I now have, and they're not even special editions, they're just the US covers. For instance, this boy over here, This Savage Song, I wanted those books in the US editions because I hate the UK editions. I always go on about that, but it's true. But special editions wise, there's really not any I could think of. So I did a little bit of research for this one to come up with a book that I think is a really cool special edition that I'd love to have. Yes, I did research. Look at me being a professional. So the first one is the Shade of Magic trilogy by Juniper Books. They did this beautiful edition with these spines. Oh my god, it's beautiful. I don't know about the actual covers. I think the covers are quite plain, but the spines alone are so gorgeous. I think they even sell just the dust jackets so you can have the spines. I definitely would do that because they look so pretty. And I'm not super fan of the Shade of Magic covers in the UK or US. I think they're all pretty okay. They're not drop dead gorgeous. It'd be nice to have one of my favourite series be even more pretty, as aesthetically pleasing on the outside as it is on the inside. Another one I thought of is the Space Between Worlds Illumicrate edition. This is the one where they basically changed the circles to the lines, and I don't know why, I just like the lines more, and it's got pretty purple sprayed edges. I thought this was the original cover and got kind of attached to it and then realised this was a special edition cover. So if I did get that book, which I do want that book by the way, I kind of prefer this edition of it. And the last one is the Emperor in the Ashes Deluxe set. There's been a whole bunch of cover changes throughout this series. There was this first edition, then it changed to this edition, which is still really pretty. I really actually like the portraits and the colours. Usually I don't like photographs on a cover, it depends how it's done. This one is an example of people on the cover being done really well, and I think these are beautiful. However, now that the series is concluded, they came out with this deluxe set, and I think the covers and the spines and the sprayed edges and the pattern, that just does it for me. The colours, the fire symbols that make the shapes of the animals, stunning, beautiful. If I had the choice, I'd get these covers, especially this edition for those sprayed edges, beautiful. And since this whole series is concluded now, I can get this series. I've been hanging off on this series because I knew there was more books coming, and I just thought I'd let it conclude. I hate being left on cliffhangers and shit. I want to binge. I've heard so many good things about the series and I really want to get to it. So now the whole series is concluded and it's got the most beautiful glow up. I'm gonna get to that someday. You just wait. Number 6. A book or author that keeps getting recommended to you that you know you won't enjoy. There's a lot of things I could go with for this, and yet simultaneously there was nothing concrete. So I've just gone with the generic authors that I don't really care to read from. This could always change, never say never. Specifically what comes to mind to me is things that people constantly tell me are great, but at the same time don't care. And that is Sarah J Maas and Cassandra Clare. Sorry about it. Not really. I know that everyone absolutely loves the Shadowhunters and the Shadowhunters world. It's so nostalgic and so community filled for so many people, but I just don't really care about the Mortal Instruments. I know that the newer trilogies that have come out, what's the newer trilogy? Queen of Air and Darkness, you know, like those ones. I've heard those ones are really good, but then I'd have to read like the entire Mortal Instruments series to get there. It just don't appeal to me. I just don't fancy it. Maybe in 50 years I might have run out of books I want to read and I'll get to that, but until then, probably not going to pick those up. Same with Sarah J Maas. There is the Throne of Glass series, Court of Thorns and Roses series. There's so much from Sarah J Maas and it's very intimidating. Again, there's so many books. The Throne of Glass series, for instance, oh my god, there's so many books and they're all huge, and I just don't know if I care enough. Maybe they're great, maybe I'm missing out, maybe I'm an idiot. All of these are probable and very likely. I don't care, my heart's not in it, I'm not really that interested. Tell me in the comments if you think I'm an idiot and I'm stubborn and I'm wrong and you think I should read them anyway. I don't know if I'll listen, but you can tell me. I just know that everyone loves them. Do we need another stand for Sarah J Maas and Cassandra Clare? Does the world really need that? No, not really. Not really interested. It's nothing against them or their work. I just don't fancy it. So I probably won't get to those. There are a few others, certain books that spring to mind. Don't want to read Lord of the Rings. Again, sorry Lord of the Rings fans, don't care. My boyfriend loves Lord of the Rings, if that helps. I'm not into it, don't want to read it. And there's probably more, but my brain is frozen and can't think of any more. The less pitchforks coming at me, the better. So we'll leave it there. Question 7. A book that has a better cover in a different language. This is the second question that I had to actually do research for, because I didn't really know many international covers, because you don't really see them as much. I'd like to do delving into international covers series or something. That would be really fun to look at the different covers around the world. I think that's really interesting. But I had a little search around, I did a bit of a diggy dig, and I found a series that I don't like the covers of that I found way better in other languages. So that is the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. I am currently reading this trilogy. I've read the first book and I would say halfway through the first book, but it is a brick. So I'm partway through the second book and I don't really love the UK covers. I don't think it suits this series at all. The white, the charcoal pencil-y portrait, the blue, I just don't like them. I think they're quite dull. I just don't think they match the dark, sinister tone of the series. So that was a weird decision. The US editions, the first editions, are kind of odd and weird and busy. My eyes don't know where to look and I don't know if I like those. But I managed to find the international editions for the Mistborn trilogy and oh my god, the UK and the US. We are not living up to the internationals in this battle. Some of the international editions I found are so gorgeous. There are two that stood out to me. There is the Polish edition. These illustrations, the colours, the vibe, the tone, the sinister nature, the illustrations. It looks so much better than both the UK and the US editions. Gorgeous. And whoever did the art for this was paying attention to the character descriptions, because they are. This is like fan art. There's nothing worse than when the cover art characters don't look anything like the book describes the characters. And this is perfect. I think whoever did this, if I can find their name, it will be here. Brilliant job. And the other international edition, which is very similar with the illustrated style, and that is the Spanish or Brazilian edition. Again, illustration, beautiful. I just absolutely love these covers. Both the Polish and the Spanish edition just look so much more epic. The illustrations are cool. I love the colours in both of them. They both have really great fonts, and they're quite different fonts, but they both really use that typography that suits the series. I think both of these have done excellent jobs at interpreting the series better than than the original English ones have. Also, this isn't my favourite edition of the series, but I think it's still really, really cool, and that is the Chinese edition. I mean, look at this. It's like a stained glass window, colourful, almost like comic book style. It doesn't suit the series as much. It's not my favourite, it's quite complex, but still it's got such brilliant artwork on these covers. The whole stained glass thing, really clever. There's a lot of stained glass windows in the series, so that makes total sense, and I think that's a really cool idea. The colours are really vibrant. They really got the characters and the setting. Even though this isn't my favourite, the style I really love. The illustrations for it I think are really cool. I can appreciate the artwork in its own right. I think the Polish and Spanish ones do a better one depicting the vibe and the genre of the books, but still I thought this was worth a shout out because it is so cool looking. Still better than the UK and US editions. The world is winning, and this makes me definitely want to look at more international covers of more series and see what other cultures and what other languages have to offer. Maybe there are amazing beautiful covers out there that I'd like better than the ones we have that I want to see. So if you want to see like a comparing international covers video or something, let me know. We could delve real deep into that, and that could be a fun journey. So let me know if you want to see that. Question 8. A book you've only seen the TV or movie adaptation of. Now, there's probably loads. A lot of the time TV shows and movies are based off of books that sometimes we don't even know are based off books. Things like Jurassic Park, right? Most normal people would say they've seen Jurassic Park. Would they know it's based off a book? Probably not. So there's a whole ton of movies I've seen based off books, but I thought of a few that I specifically know about the book, and I'm like, I wish I kind of read the book first. Shall I read the book now? So there's a few that have come to mind for me for this. First off, and I know you're gonna hate me for this, but I've seen the Series of Unfortunate Events movie. Not the TV series that is the recent adaptation, but the original movie, you know, the one with Jim Carrey. I love that movie. I'm sorry, I know fans hate that movie because it condenses an entire series worth of books into one film and probably cuts loads out. So a lot of fans hate that movie. However, as a person who never read those books, I love that film. I really enjoy it, and as a kid I just loved it. I loved the creepy vibe, I like the characters, the acting, the cinematography. I really enjoy that movie. It's got lots of nostalgic memories for me, and I've heard like great things about the Series of Unfortunate Events and a lot of negatives as well. I've heard it's quite repetitive and quite whiny, like the kids are just constantly telling the adults that it's Olaf and they never believe them, even though this exact same thing happened in 13 books past. I've heard it's quite frustrating from an adult's perspective to be like, will you just fucking wake up? They're telling the truth, why are you a moron? But I've also heard that it's a really great fun series, and I do like the concept of the series, so I'm not sure if I should go read the book. Tell me down below, have you read the Series of Unfortunate Events? What do you think? Do you think the movie is garbage? And what about the new TV series? Apparently that's a lot better loved. It's more accurate to the books. What's that like? I've never seen that. Should I give it a try? Another one that you're all gonna hate me for. We've already covered this, but the Mortal Instruments series. I've seen the movie. The movie all the fans hate. It was okay. It was a watch, wasn't it? I'll be real with you. I only watched it because of Robert Sheehan. I will be honest. I absolutely love Robert Sheehan. Misfits is my favourite TV show. He plays Nathan in that. Mwah, excellent. The fact he plays Simon in the Mortal Instruments is so funny to me because he's the literal antithesis of Simon in Misfits. The fact he plays a character who is a nerd in the Mortal Instruments called Simon is so funny to me. I watched the movie. It was a cool time. I'm not interested in reading the books. The movie probably doesn't represent how good the books are. You're all gonna shout at me, go, but the movie's trash, read the books instead, which valid. I just don't really have that much interest in the subject matter or the characters or anything really. I'm happy just to watch a fairly generic meth movie and be okay to leave it at that. And the third one I will mention is Ella Enchanted. Again, this was one that I watched a lot when I was growing up, and I love this movie. I still do love this movie. It's so much fun. This is the one with Anne Hathaway, and I just think it's such a good movie. The music in this film, oh, whoever got the copyrights for the music did a stellar job. It's basically a musical bonanza of fun about a girl who is obedient and breaking the spell. It's so good at being fun and lighthearted, but also having that serious undertone. I think it's a great film. I don't know about the book. I know someone who really loves this book, but I don't think the movie is very similar to the book, and I'm worried that I'll read the book and just be constantly comparing it to the movie that I've loved my whole life and then be upset that it's different and that the tone will probably be very different. I think the book's a lot more serious and the film was quite light-hearted and funny, but I'm not sure how that will go. It's one I've had in the back of my head to read for a long time, and I don't know when I'll work up the courage to get to it and if I'll even like it. I don't know about that one. Have you read that? Let me know. maybe one day. There's plenty of other movies and TV shows I've watched that are based on a book. We could legit be here all day if we go through every single one. Question 9. A book that you wouldn't watch if it got adapted. This is a strange question. I'm not sure. I tend to be a bit wary of books that are adapted into movies and TV shows. Ready Player One, for example. I really enjoyed the book. I absolutely loved it. I know it's got some issues, but I really enjoyed that story and the reading experience of it. And when they announced the movie, I ran in terror. I still haven't seen the movie. I was debating on and off, do I watch it, do I not? I was terrified because I just don't think that book would translate well into film. That book is a love letter to the 80s. It's got loads of nerdy 80s TV and geek culture references, and I just don't think it's gonna translate. It's all about virtual reality again. A lot of it's imagination inducing. I've heard it's really good. It's quite different from the book, obviously, because a lot could not be translated. It's just not possible. And if they tried to make it exactly like the book, it would be bad. I understand that, but I also don't know if I want to watch it or not. I've heard it's a good film if you kind of separate the two. I don't know about that one. I'm scared of it. But as for other books that I would be scared if they got adapted, I'm not really sure. It depends on how well they did it. Do they do it properly and get a great cast that I really think is good? Is it a movie or a TV show? You know, which one would suit it? It all depends how they go about doing it. But there are a few inevitable ones that would scare me. Like my favourite book's Unwind. That is my favourite book. So I kind of want to see it in film. I think it deserves to have all the love. But then again, it wouldn't be as good as the book. It's just not possible to be as good as the book. And therefore people would think of the film instead of the book. And that always annoys me. I'm not sure if I want my favourite book baby to have an overshadowing lesser version of itself. Most of my favourite books I would be wary to be adapted, but also that would be great to see them in a new variant format. There is one that comes to mind, maybe the Mind Jack trilogy, because that is so mental. It's a lot about mind reading and mind control, so I think that would translate really, really badly into film or TV. I don't think it'll ever be picked up. It's quite a small series that not a lot of people know. It probably won't ever get adapted. That one would not work, I don't think, because most of the action of the book takes place in their brains, and how would you translate that in film? It would be difficult, and I don't think it would be worth doing. Maybe that one. Question 10, a book that shouldn't have been continued. Since we were talking about Mind Jack, let's continue that train of thought. So if you're new here, let me catch you up. The Mind Jack trilogy is one of my favourite book series of all time. I love it. It will forever be in my heart. It is a series about a world where we've evolved into mind readers and everyone just shares thoughts all of the time until a few certain people start evolving the ability to control the minds and hold back their thoughts. It's a brilliant, brilliant series about a girl who has developed quite a strong ability, and she is feared on all sides, being persecuted by all of them too, and it's such a good series with great characters. The plot, love this series, one of my favourites of all time. And then the author decided to do a continuation of the series. We all know how I feel about that. Oh, it went badly. It went so badly. So the trilogy is perfect. It wraps up perfect. It ends. So satisfactory of an ending. So when this new continuation came out, I was nervous. I was scared. I read the first book and I thought, okay, I don't love this main character as much. The plot's not as good as the original, but it's cool. I'm enjoying the writing as usual. And then the author ruined it. Completely decimated the entire thing. It's like she came at my book babies with a machine gun and said, "Oh, everything you loved about that series, I'm gonna ruin it." And I was very sad. I had a full-on life crisis over this, ruining the original series. Why? Why did she? Why? Just know that continuation should never have happened. It doesn't exist. In my headcanon, who is she? Don't know you. The original trilogy will always be fantastic. I will always recommend it. It'll always be amazing, but there's not a continuation. It doesn't exist. It's the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child of my mind. It's not canon. This is not associated. We can just forget that that happened. Sometimes with certain series, you have to do that. My favourite TV show, Misfits, after season 3, don't watch. It's fine. It ends there. That's all you need to know. This trilogy will always be perfect and amazing in my mind, and the continuation can die in hell. It's just so frustrating. Read that series, but don't continue it. Trust me. Question, oh wow, what is fingers? Question 11, a trope that puts you off buying a book. Very rarely will a trope put me off buying a book. It depends on how the trope is done. No trope is good or bad. It all depends on how it is executed. There are some tropes I like more than others. There are some tropes that I don't often like as much, but sometimes they are done well, like the love triangle, for example. I'm not a big fan of the love triangle. As we established earlier, I'm not a fan of romance, especially the generic same old YA. Love triangles can be done very badly, and I'm not into that, but there is a couple of books I've read where the love triangles, they're not like what you think of as a love triangle to be. The generic love triangle you're thinking of is only one way to do it. I'm thinking of Requiem, in case anyone is wondering. I will not spoil it though, because this is the 3rd book in the series. Let's not go there. Any trope can be done well. There is one trope though that I just know I don't like, and I won't pick it up, and I will never pick it up, and that is the bad boy abuser meets the naive wallflower virgin. fuck off. Don't want it, don't need it, goodbye. The door's over there. I hate the toxic romance. I'll never be into that. Don't give it to me. Why is the mysterious, brooding bad boy the toxic abuser and the sweet, naive virgin always a moron with no brain cells? I just, no, I don't want it. I don't want my romance to be an episode of Criminal Minds. Abusive relationships and romance should not be in the same sentence. And yet, there is a whole subcategory of romance genre books that are this. No, thank you. The After series is a prime example of complete garbage. This is the one book that I will never give a chance and I never want to read. If I read that toxic relationship shit, the book's going out the window. This is the line I draw in the sand. I give every book a chance, but this is where I kill it. Burn it with fire. Don't want it. Thank you very much. And that is the end of all the questions. Let me know down below in the comment section some of your answers to these questions. I bet you got some juicy ones that you want to put in the comments. And the adaptations I've watched, do you think they're terrible? The books I didn't want to read, do you think I should give them a shot? Let me know all of your thoughts. You know I love to chat. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Oh, and before I forget, the tags. Why do I always forget the tag parts in a tag? It's literally in the name. So I don't know who's done this. If you've done it, ignore me, but I'm going to tag the first people that come to my mind. Kaz over at Cats and Camera, and Connor from Connor's Library Corner. And anyone else that's watching, if you want to do this tag, you do it. You can say I tagged you. It will be cool. To Kaz and Connor, if you want to do this tag, give it a shot. It's a pretty fun one. You don't have to, no pressure, but there you go. You have the gift of tag. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for Jayla for tagging me in this one. I actually really like these questions, so go with Bumbling Blogger. Also, I did do a thorough clean of my camera lens. Let me know if that's made a difference in the quality of this video, in the picture. I think it's made a difference. I can tell from my viewfinder that I think it looks crisper, but can you see the difference? Let me know. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, listen to me ramble, have a rant. It was all good times, and I will see you in my next video.